Welcome back to the Cryptic Galapagos. Video games need good enemies. This is part 2 of the Enemies of the Cryptic Galapagos series. Check out that video if you haven't seen it yet, and if you have, then you'll know who this guy is. I'll be using him to explain the scale of the enemies you'll encounter in this world. The Cryptic Galapagos has many forms of currencies that are cultivated. The sea scales farm underwater, while the sun scales, the land iguanas of Vulcan Island, farm on land, and these crops require constant protection. Much like the sea scales, the sun scales don't attack you outright, but will protect their territories by having patrolling sun scale warriors walk along the boundaries. Pass these boundaries and you'll be taken out. These disciplined sun scale warriors are typically patient and may attempt to interact before turning fully hostile. This is because the crops they protect are of immense value. Some cacti samples will explode when tampered with, others can heal fatal wounds. But most importantly, the rarest farms cultivate cacti trees capable of curing what iguanas call the rot, a devastating illness that erodes the mind, slowly killing its host while transforming them into sick monsters. Rotten iguanas progress through several stages as the rot takes hold. The first is known as the fester phase. It begins with coughing, blemishes forming on paler skin, and clouded cataracted eyes. Victims may mutter to themselves, often speaking nonsense as their minds begin to fade, becoming increasingly forgetful and disorientated. Fester iguanas may not attack immediately, but can become violent if disturbed. Fortunately, at this stage, they can still be cured with the correct treatment. If left untreated, fester iguanas eventually wander the islands and deteriorate into mangler iguanas. These are easier to identify, displaying all symptoms of the earlier phase, but with one crucial difference: they no longer feel pain. Manglers are extremely difficult to kill. It is not uncommon to encounter individuals with arrows lodged in their backs or limbs severed, yet they continue to move and fight. Most rotten succumb to the disease before reaching the final stage, but a few survive long enough to become screechers. These iguanas are monstrously fast and little more than a shell of their former selves. They charge at intruders on all four legs, emitting piercing screeches as they attack. While relatively easy to dispatch, they are unpredictable and highly aggressive. Luckily, most conventional weapons remain effective against rotten iguanas. With widespread illness and complex political tensions between clans, some iguanas choose isolation, withdrawing completely from wider conflicts. These reclusive groups do not take kindly to outsiders. Green iguanas arrived in the Galapagos relatively recently. With their numbers still very low, they are aggressively territorial and fiercely protective of their own. They specialize in ranged combat, preferring to engage enemies from a distance whenever possible. Highly primal in nature, they often rely on thrown projectiles or improvised weapons that allow them to keep foes at bay. Elite green iguanas wield their powerful tails as weapons, using them to whip enemies with devastating force. Some even carry additional crafted whips, ensuring they remain dangerous if flanked. Slinger iguanas are particularly resourceful, collecting a wide variety of materials to hurl at their targets. These include sea urchins, cacti, stones, hollow pots filled with aggressive scorpions, and even a flying beetle species that release a burning liquid upon impact. Although these iguanas display strongly primal behavior, their ability to adapt is remarkable. They observe their enemies closely, repurposing captured weapons and even attempting to replicate them. Still in the early stages of learning, they abandon ranged combat once an enemy closes the distance, reverting to instinctive fighting techniques, head bobbing, biting, and brutal close-quarter attacks. Similar to the green iguanas, there are other clans that also embrace a deeply primal way of life. Feral iguanas form small, roaming groups, surviving day by day without allegiance to philosophy, law, or higher order. They reject structure entirely, choosing instead to embrace their wild heritage. Runners are often seen charging on all fours towards their targets. They stay low to the ground and move with unsettling speed, making them an irritating and dangerous challenge to deal with in close combat. To make matters worse, runners are frequently supported by feral archers who take opportunistic shots during duels to tip the odds in their favor. While these archers are only moderately skilled at range, they become aggressive when cornered, resorting to violent tail-whipping attacks. Handler iguanas handle a variety of companion creatures: finches, bats, centipedes, lizards, and other critters. Companions to them, pests to you. These animals swarm, distract, and disorientate intruders, making it far harder to focus on the runners during combat. The most dangerous feral iguanas are the alphas. These massive iguanas dominate close quarters combat, covered in jagged makeshift armor that renders honorable fighting nearly impossible. They wield crude tagomizers and venomous spears, using any advantage necessary to ensure victory. With feral iguanas, the rotten, and Varanus and his underlings becoming even greater threats, many isolated villages, unable to afford the protection of Malachite knights, are forced to rely on independent operatives to thin out dangerous territories. Some of these operatives reject the title entirely, yet their deeds have made them legendary among iguana folk. There are many such solitary warriors, with Vigo the Black Scale standing out as a favorite among the common clans. Like Vigo, most operatives fight with good intentions, driven by a desire to protect the weak. Others are closer to anti-heroes, motivated by a thirst for violence, or by orders handed down from unseen patrons. Scar is one such figure, an earthshell-trained barbarous iguana, infamous for his brutally aggressive fighting style. In certain situations, your objectives may clash with those of these operatives, resulting in intense mini-boss encounters. Defeating them through honorable traditional combat can earn their respect. Those who acknowledge your strength may reward you with a legendary weapon, and, in time, become a powerful ally in your cause. Allies you will need when going up against clans that operate on a higher cognitive level. The Gulgak are marine iguanas known for their deeply unsettling cult-like behavior. Their beliefs are widely questioned, and what or whom they worship remains a complete mystery to the other clans. They don't associate with outsiders and rarely communicate, often acting hostile, silent, or disturbingly withdrawn. Alliances are frequently broken without explanation, and their secrets are fiercely guarded. Due to their unpredictability, the elders have formally forbidden any alliances with the Gulgak, choosing instead to allow them to conduct their rituals in isolation. This fragile tolerance is difficult to agree with when travelers or players encounter ritual sites involving the sacrifice of hatchlings, elderly iguanas, or the young of other creatures. Intervention becomes inevitable. Gulgak warriors attack immediately when disturbed. They wear ornately carved green jasper armor, surprisingly durable and well crafted. These warriors are fast and deadly, capable of overwhelming the unprepared. But should you manage to defeat them, a Gulgak mage may intervene. These fanatics are so devoted to their deity that they willingly sever their own tails in exchange for a divine power. What seems like madness quickly becomes terrifying when they unleash their signature green, fiery breath. Such attacks can be countered with shields or crystal-based weapons, particularly those forged from malachite, yttrium, or obsidian. On rare occasions you may encounter a Gulgak high priest. These massive iguanas do not strike immediately. They wait. Wielding enormous long swords, they can kill in a blink of an eye. Even malachite knights are known to avoid them, often turning a blind eye when catching glimpses of their disturbing rituals. The last class of enemies are strange and deeply unpredictable to the iguanas. Humans are rare and often fleeting, usually passing through without incident. However, some pose a severe threat to the inhabitants of the islands. Unlike iguanas, humans do not follow the natural laws of territory or balance. Their intentions are difficult to read, and some of their tools allow for them to kill from afar with frightening efficiency. Whalers are among the most feared, These humans arrive and stay stationed aboard massive wooden beasts that float upon the sea. They hunt indiscriminately, not only whales but any large creature deemed useful. Armed with a strong spear-like weapon, explosives, and crude firearms, they are relentless once a target is chosen. The seal riders in particular view whalers as omens of ruin. Entering their ships is a death wish, but the amount of resources you'll receive from taking them down is always worth the trouble. Hunters operate in smaller groups and move quietly across the islands. Unlike whalers, they target land creatures, often setting traps or ambushes. Some hunt for survival, others for trophies, but all are dangerous. Hunters have fur-covered beasts that pick up on your scent very quickly and expose your location while biting and barking at you aggressively. This signals the hunter to fire his weapon. If you manage to deal with the beast and dodge the fire from the hunter, you can consider yourself lucky. Naval and survey crews arrive mapping terrain and setting claim to land with flags and markers that mean nothing to the iguanas, but often signal future destruction. While not always openly hostile, they are heavily armed and quick to defend their claims. When threatened, they act with military precision, coordinating attacks and securing territory with brutal efficiency. These humans often have the best weapons to be salvaged if you manage to clear out their outposts. Naturalists and explorers are the most confusing of all. These humans observe rather than conquer, documenting the islands and their inhabitants with curiosity. They don't attack first and often avoid direct conflict. They do document valuable information on paper sheets that will have important knowledge worth taking from them. Enemy weaknesses, healing remedies, all types of documentation. Iguanas rob these explorers and chase them away, otherwise they return with more gear, although some do fight back if they were attacked before. That concludes part 2 of the enemies of the Cryptic Galapagos. Which enemy did you find most interesting? And let me know what enemies you'd like to learn more about. Maybe a part 3 that covers the threats in the ethereal realm. Comment down below what you think. Thank you to my Patreons for supporting this project financially. If you want to see some exclusive content before it's revealed on the channel, consider becoming a Patreon. I use the funding to have models made and pay for animations to move the development of the project along while I draw more concepts to get excited about. That would mean the world to me, but simply supporting by sharing this video and watching it yourself also allows me to move closer and closer to monetizing this channel. So please, like and subscribe if you want to see this world grow. And thanks for watching.